Hey guys, it's Phaedra from allthingsphaedra.com and stingeruniverse.com, and today I'm here to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is Star Wars. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I am headed to see Rise of Skywalker, the final installment of the Star Wars Skywalker saga, as they're calling it. And I wanted to do a before and after because I feel like to really appreciate my review and where I'm coming from, you have to know how I feel about the Star Wars series in general. I will say, I am a fan. I am not a mega fan. I am not an uber fan. I am a fan. But, revealing my age, I was around to see Star Wars A New Hope back when it was simply called Star Wars in the theater. And it was such a monumental occasion to go to the theater to see this movie. It was unlike anything else that had been out there. It was all that kids could talk about. And it was a really significant movie. It actually stayed in the theater for well over a year. Talk about longevity. Movies today don't have that. I loved the three original movies. I was not a fan of the prequels. I love the idea of the prequels, but I think it was just in this bad era where people were really super excited about CGI. It was too much CGI. The acting was a little bit stilted. I've gone back and forth with people on this. I don't hate them, I just don't love them. Then we fast forward to the last three movies in this series. The Force Awakens. When this came out, I had no idea what to expect, and I went to the movies and absolutely loved everything about that movie. I came out of the theater, I was so excited, I went with my family, just like back in 1970, whatever. It was an event. We loved it. My son loved it, so he's kind of new to the Star Wars generation, even though he's seen all of the movies. I loved The Force Awakens, and then I went to see The Last Jedi. So most people didn't like The Force Awakens but liked The Last Jedi, or they didn't like both, or they liked both, or vice versa. So I loved The Force Awakens. I did not love The Last Jedi. In fact, I really didn't like The Last Jedi. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it, and I've written reviews about it, all the things about it that I didn't love. Princess Leia getting frozen in space, the whole Rose character, just parts of it that just the style of filmmaking. So, what is different about Rise of Skywalker? Well, the writers and the directors, that's what's different. J.J. Abrams was behind The Force Awakens. He turned the reins over to Rian Johnson with The Last Jedi and didn't like it. J.J. Abrams came back and said, I'm doing Rise of Skywalker. Not without a little bit of drama. There were other people that had written it, other people that were signed up to direct it, and overall, George Lucas did not sign off on any of it. So where is this going? Am I going to get the conclusion that I want? Am I going to feel like this is the end to the story? It doesn't have to be a happy ending. It just has to be a satisfying ending. Will we find out who Rey's parents are? Does it really matter who Rey's parents are? So it's always been a struggle of good versus evil. My prediction is that we're going to see that it's not a good versus evil, that there is good and evil in all of us, and that we have to learn to balance that, right? It's always been about the balance. So anyway, that is a long introduction. I am off now to see an exclusive press screening of Rise of Skywalker. I'm back. I'm back. It's actually hours after I have seen The Rise of Skywalker, and I've had time to let my emotions settle. Otherwise, you might see me with tears streaming down my face. Yes, this was an emotional movie. But remember, emotions don't always mean sad emotions. It was full of so many emotions that I left with my heart completely full after this movie. So that's the only spoiler I'll give you, is that I absolutely love this movie. I had a lot of anxiety going in. I was really worried. Were we going to get an extension of The Force Awakens, or were we going to get a continuation of The Last Jedi, which I was not a fan of? And thank you, J.J. Abrams. Thank you to whoever was involved in this picture. You served up on a platter exactly what I needed in my Star Wars movie. Let me give you a quick spoiler-free rendition of what I thought of this movie. The first 30 minutes were very okay. You know, you had to tie up a lot of loose ends, and some might say clean up a lot of the storyline from Rian Johnson's film, The Last Jedi. And I think it took about 30 minutes for the movie to really find its footing and to really find its pacing. Also in the beginning of the movie, you'll see a lot of the General Leia scenes that were spliced in with Rey. Now, as you know, Carrie Fisher passed away, and they did not want to use CGI to create scenes that just didn't exist. So they used a lot of old footage from The Force Awakens, and they created some dialogue and created some scenes around it. And it felt a little stilted and it felt a little forced, but hey, you know what? You have to do what you have to do. And I felt like they wove her into the storyline as best they could. So it felt a little awkward, but I could live with that. I loved the casting in this movie. So it wasn't a lot of new casting. It was a lot of cast members from this trilogy. But they just worked really well together. We had Poe and we had Finn together. We had Chewie and Rey all kind of working together as a team. And it really felt like a throwback to Han and Leia and Luke and Chewie. And so I think this movie was really meant for people that just have that nostalgia for the original Star Wars film, me being one of those people. In fact, you'll find a lot of nods to the original movie. It helps if you really know your Star Wars, if you know A New Hope very well, because you'll see some surprise appearances by some objects, by some characters, and of course, from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, we see the appearance of Lando Calrissian. That is not a spoiler because they have revealed that he would be in this movie. And I was worried that they would turn his appearance into simply a cameo, but I really loved the way his character was woven into the story. So very well done there. Let's talk about the emotional roller coaster of this movie. So I said I had tears. I cried like a baby in this movie. I'm not an emotional moviegoer typically, but I laughed, I cried. It just, because it made my heart feel full. I'm not going to say that there were no sad scenes at all, but I definitely cried for a lot of different reasons, and I think most of it was that this was the culmination of my childhood. This was such an important movie to me and kind of set the stage for what I expected of my movies going forward. I also felt that the emotions were very heartfelt. So what I felt did not feel like emotional manipulation at all in this movie. I felt like they were very genuine emotions. And by the way, can I just say that Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver were just superb. Daisy Ridley is like the action hero. That's what girls everywhere need. They need someone like Rey that's not spouting feminism. She's just a strong woman. And you don't even think about her gender. She's just an amazing character. I love Rey. I also found that the story, in my opinion, they listened to the fans that were critical of The Last Jedi. And I won't say which elements, but some of the elements that the fans were most vocal about, me included, I felt like were sort of diluted in this movie. And so they really listened to the fans and kind of altered the course of the story. So thank you again, J.J. Abrams. If that was you, I appreciate it. And then I guess the final thing is, did I get my questions answered? So the biggest question was, do we find out who Rey's parents are? And the answer to that is, yes, we do. And I'm not going to tell you any more other than to say all my questions were answered to my satisfaction. And the movie ended to my satisfaction. It definitely felt like the end of the Skywalker saga. And I think it ended beautifully and perfectly. And I am just beyond thrilled at the way this movie turned out. Does it whet my appetite for more Star Wars? Because you know there's more in the Star Wars universe. Yes. Will we see these characters again? Maybe. But if not, I feel like we got the happy ending. I got the happy ending that I wanted for Star Wars. So, frankly, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. If you're a traditional, nostalgic Star Wars fan, you will love this movie. If you are a super nerdy Star Wars fan, read the comics, play the video games, you may pick it apart, and that's fine. Yeah, that's your prerogative. That's not the kind of fan I am. So if you are like me, go see it without reservation. and enjoy it. So thanks for watching. I hope you appreciated my 2 cents. If so, give me a like. If you have seen the movie, please leave me your comments. I want to know what you think too. I want to know if you are as excited as I am. And more importantly, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button. Come back for more movie reviews and all kinds of other stuff that I do right here on All Things Phaedra.